My parents forced me to hand over my tech patents to my sister at graduation, but they had no idea. "Sign these papers, Hannah. Your sister needs them more than you." My dad's voice was low but firm as he pushed the stack of legal documents across the table. We were sitting in a corner booth at the Capitol Grill in downtown Seattle, the kind of place with dim lighting, leather seats, and servers who refill your water without asking. It was supposed to be a celebration for my graduation from the University of Washington, but the air felt heavy, like the rain clouds outside that Seattle is so famous for. My mom stood next to him, her hand resting lightly on my sister Alyssa's shoulder, both of them looking at me with that mix of expectation and impatience I knew too well. I glanced down at my diploma from the Paul G. Allen School of Computer Science and Engineering, still fresh in its purple and gold holder, the edges sharp and unworn. Then I looked at the transfer agreement that would hand over my blockchain encryption algorithm patents to Alyssa. My heart pounded a little, but my hands did not shake as I picked up the papers and set them back down. "No," I said, keeping my voice steady even though part of me wanted to yell. My dad's face tightened, his jaw clenching the way it did when he was trying to stay calm in public. "This is not optional, Hannah. Alyssa's startup went under, and she needs a real shot to get back on her feet. Your little tech experiments can be her foundation. Little tech experiments. That is what they always called my work, even after I won the school's Innovation Award last year. The algorithm I had built over 3 years in my cramped dorm room at McCarty Hall on campus, the one that could secure online transactions for small businesses without needing massive servers. To them, it was just something I did to pass the time, while Alyssa was the one with big dreams." Alyssa leaned back in her chair, twisting the silver bracelet on her wrist. A gift from our parents for her birthday last month. Probably cost a couple $100 from one of those boutique shops in Bellevue Square. "Come on, Han, it is not like you are doing anything big with it. I have the business know-how to turn it into something real. Business know-how." Her eco-fashion app that tanked after 9 months, burning through about $120,000 of our parents' savings. They had funded it all, $50,000 on Google Ads to get users, $40,000 hiring freelance designers for the app interface, and the rest on office space in a co-working spot downtown, and miscellaneous costs like travel to trade shows. Alyssa had always been the outgoing one, the charmer who could talk anyone into anything, but she jumped from idea to idea without sticking it out. I think deep down she was scared of failing on her own terms, so she leaned on Mom and Dad's support to cushion the blows. But admitting that would mean facing how much pressure she put on herself to be the successful sibling. "Those patents are mine," I said, my voice gaining a bit of edge now. "I developed the algorithm myself, spent late nights debugging code in the Allen Center's computer lab, balancing it with classes and my part-time job. I am not signing anything over." My dad's eyes flashed with anger and he snatched my diploma from the table. His face reddened as he tore it right down the middle, the paper ripping with a sharp sound that cut through the restaurant's murmur. "You ungrateful girl, after everything we have done for you?" Other diners glanced over, but I forced myself to stay composed, even as a wave of hurt washed over me. Hurt mixed with a strange relief that this was finally out in the open. "Everything you have done?" I asked, my tone softer but pointed. "You mean the student loans and scholarships I handled myself?" The barista shifts at Starbucks on the Ave, pulling 20 hours a week at $18 an hour to cover my share of rent and books, while Alyssa got an open credit card? That everything. The University of Washington tuition runs about $40,000 a year for in-state students like me, but I covered half with academic scholarships, $20,000 annually for good grades, and the rest with my job earnings, about $18,720 a year after taxes. It was not easy. Some nights I felt exhausted, questioning if it was worth it, but it taught me to value my own effort. "Do not you dare speak to us like that," my mom hissed, her eyes darting around the room. She looked torn, like she knew this was unfair but could not bring herself to side against Alyssa, who'd always been her favorite, the one who shared her love for fashion and social events. Your sister has real ambition, a vision for building something people can see and touch. You just sit behind a screen all day. These patents would go to waste with you. I stood up slowly, adjusting my graduation gown, feeling a mix of anger and sadness bubble up. I think we are finished here. If you walk out now, my dad said, his voice low and threatening, you are no longer part of this family. I looked at them. Dad gripping the torn diploma, Mom's frown deepening with worry, Alyssa's smirk hiding what I suspected was her own insecurity about her failures, and felt an odd peace settle in. You never really saw me as part of it anyway. I was just the backup for when Alyssa's plans fell through. What they did not know, what they never asked about, was that I had already met with Amazon's acquisition team at their Day 1 building in South Lake Union yesterday. My algorithm, the one they brushed off, had caught their attention 6 months ago through a professor's connection. The final meeting was tomorrow. But tonight, as I stepped out into Seattle's drizzly evening, the cool air hitting my face, I headed toward my apartment in Capitol Hill, a modest 2-bedroom walk-up with creaky floors and a view of the neighborhood's eclectic mix of coffee shops and street art. As I walked away from the Capitol Grill, the rain started to pick up, typical Seattle weather even in late spring. I pulled my graduation gown tighter around me and headed toward Pike Place Market just a few blocks away. The market was winding down for the evening, with vendors packing up their fresh flowers and fish, the smell of salt water and coffee lingering in the air. It was one of those places that always grounded me, the hustle of locals grabbing last-minute produce, tourists snapping photos of the iconic neon sign. I had spent many afternoons there during college, sketching code ideas on napkins from the nearby cafes while sipping on a latte from the original Starbucks. My mind was a jumble. Part of me felt raw from the confrontation, like a weight had been lifted but left bruises behind. But there was also this quiet excitement bubbling up, mixed with a bit of fear. What if things did not go as planned tomorrow? I pulled out my phone and dialed Dr. Priya Sharma, my advisor from the Allen School. She had been the one who encouraged me to patent the algorithm in the first place, helping me navigate the paperwork during my junior year. Dr. Sharma? It is Hannah. Everything happened just like we thought. They tried to make me sign over the patents. She sighed on the other end, her voice warm but practical, with that slight accent from her years in India, before moving to Seattle. I am sorry it came to that, Hannah. But you stood your ground. Did you tell them about the Amazon meeting? No, I said, pausing under the market's awning to avoid the drizzle. The paperwork is all set, right? Yes, she replied. The non-disclosure agreement you signed last week protects the details. Just focus on tomorrow. You have earned this. Hanging up, I caught my reflection in a shop window displaying handmade soaps and local honey. Still in my gown, but standing a little straighter, like the weight of their expectations was finally slipping off. The algorithm was not just code to me. It was born from seeing small businesses in Seattle struggle with cyber threats, cafes like the ones in Pike Place getting hacked, losing customer data. I had designed it to encrypt transactions using blockchain in a way that was affordable, running on basic cloud setups without fancy hardware. Patenting it cost me about $2,000, scraped together from my barista tips and a small grant from the school. It felt like a gamble at the time, but now it was paying off. I made my way up the hill to my apartment in Capitol Hill, a second-floor unit in an old brick building from the 1920s, with high ceilings, worn hardwood floors, and a tiny balcony overlooking the street's mix of Victorian houses and modern condos. Rent was $1,800 a month, which Liam and I split, $900 each. It was not fancy, but it had character, like the neighborhood itself, full of street murals, indie bookstores, and that vibrant energy from the nearby parks where people walked their dogs or played frisbee on sunny days. Chloe opened the door before I could knock, her curly hair tied back and a concerned look on her face. She was my best friend from freshman year, the one who dragged me to study groups and reminded me to eat during all-nighters. They did it, did not they? Just like you predicted. I nodded, stepping inside. The living room was cozy, with mismatched thrift store furniture, a coffee table cluttered with laptops and empty coffee mugs, and string lights draped along the walls. Our attempt to make the place feel homey on a student budget. Yeah, down to Dad tearing the diploma. Liam poked his head out from the kitchen, holding a pizza box. He was my roommate, a quiet guy studying environmental science, always the one to fix things around the apartment like the leaky faucet last month. We ordered from Pagliacci, pepperoni and veggie, about $30 total, our go-to for celebrations or rough days. Champagne is chilling too, future tech mogul. The study group was there, a handful of us from the Allen School sprawled on the couch with plates in hand. They had seen me through countless coding sessions, sharing snacks and debugging tips in the school's labs late at night. We sat around, and I finally let myself talk about it all. The algorithm started as a class project, but it grew into something real when I realized how many local shops, like the family-run bakeries in Ballard or the craft stores in Fremont, could not afford high-end security. Amazon had reached out after Dr. Sharma shared my work at a conference. I met their team yesterday at the Day One building in South Lake Union, that massive glass structure with open workspaces and views of Lake Union. They offered $40 million for the patents, plus a role as lead developer for 2 years at about $180,000 a year salary. It was a lot to process. I felt thrilled but also overwhelmed, wondering if I was ready for that kind of spotlight. My phone buzzed with texts from my family as I ate a slice. Dad, you are making a mistake you will regret. Mom, think about Alyssa's future, Hannah. She has been through so much. Alyssa, I could have made your code actually profitable, you know. Reading them stung, but I silenced the phone. Mom probably felt guilty, always trying to keep peace, but her favoritism toward Alyssa stemmed from seeing herself in her, the social butterfly who struggled with follow-through. Dad was driven by his own regrets. He had built a stable career in real estate, but never chased bigger risks, so he poured everything into Alyssa's ventures to live vicariously. Chloe hugged me sideways. You did the right thing. Liam nodded. Press release is drafted, and we have the social media plan ready. For the first time that night, I smiled genuinely, even if a small doubt lingered about cutting ties so sharply. Tomorrow would change everything, but tonight, surrounded by friends who had seen my hard work up close, I felt like I belonged. The next morning, I woke up early in my apartment, the sun filtering through the thin curtains onto the cluttered desk where my laptop sat, still open from last night's planning session. Capitol Hill was stirring outside, neighbors walking dogs in Cal Anderson Park, the distant hum of traffic on Broadway. I felt a knot in my stomach, a mix of nerves and determination. What if the deal fell through? But I pushed the thought aside, focusing on the routine. A quick shower in our tiny bathroom with its outdated tiles, then coffee from the French press Liam had bought at a garage sale. I dressed in a simple blouse and slacks, about $200 from a sale at Nordstrom Rack downtown. Nothing flashy but professional enough for the meeting. Grabbing my bag with the torn diploma tucked inside like a reminder, I took the bus to South Lake Union, watching the city pass by. The tech hubs sprouting up around Lake Union, kayakers on the water, and the ever-present construction cranes that Seattleites joke about as our state bird. The Day One building at Amazon was impressive up close, a towering glass structure with open atriums filled with plants and collaborative spaces, buzzing with employees in casual jeans and hoodies, carrying laptops and coffee mugs. It felt worlds away from the quiet labs at UW. Jessica Lee, the acquisition lead, met me in a conference room on the 10th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake. She was in her mid-40s, sharp-eyed and efficient, probably juggling a dozen deals like this. "Everything checks out, Hannah," she said, sliding the contract across the polished wood table. $40 million for the patents, with you staying on as lead developer for 2 years at $180,000 a year base salary, plus benefits and stock options. I paused, pen in hand, thinking how different this felt from last night's pressure at the restaurant. The money was huge, but after federal taxes around 30%, since Washington has no state income tax, I would net about $28 million. It was not just about the cash, it was validation for all those hours coding, while working shifts, skipping social events to debug. One question, I said. The press release goes out right after? Jessica nodded. We have coordinated with TechCrunch, Wired, and local outlets like the Seattle Times. Your algorithm fits perfectly with our push for secure cloud services. Small businesses here in Seattle, like the ones in Pioneer Square, need affordable encryption without the overhead. I signed, my hand steady, each letter feeling like a small act of reclaiming my work. As Jessica collected the papers, my phone started vibrating. News travels fast in tech circles. Someone had leaked the basics. The first texts were from Alyssa. What is this? 40 million. We are family, Hannah. We should share this. Then Mom. We need to talk. Your father is upset. Think of your sister. I turned off notifications, a pang of guilt mixing with resolve. Mom probably saw it as protecting the family unit, her way of coping with Dad's temper and Alyssa's ups and downs. Jessica led me to a small press area downstairs, where a few reporters waited. Cameras clicked as I shook hands with Amazon's VP of Cloud Security, a tall guy with a friendly smile who chatted about Seattle's craft beer scene afterward. I gave my statement about how the algorithm could help local entrepreneurs, like the food trucks at South Lake Union markets, secure payments without breaking the bank. By noon, headlines were popping up. UW grads blockchain tech acquired by Amazon for $40 million. Seattle's rising star in encryption. Chloe met me outside the building, holding her phone with a grin. You are trending locally, and guess who has been calling me non-stop? I sighed, adjusting my bag. Alyssa? Yeah, she tried to say she was your co-creator or something. Wants access to the contracts urgently. We walked toward the light rail, passing joggers and office workers on lunch breaks. Back at the apartment, Liam had set up snacks, chips and soda, simple stuff since we were still on student budgets. The place felt warmer now, with sunlight streaming in and our shared plants on the windowsill. Then my phone rang from an unexpected number. Grandma Ellie. Her voice was steady and kind, calling from her house in Bellevue, a cozy 2-story home with a garden full of rhododendrons and a view of Lake Washington. It was worth about $1.2 million, built up over years from her career as an engineer at Boeing before retiring. Hannah, I saw the news. I always believed in you, even when your parents got caught up in their own ideas. Tears pricked my eyes. Ellie had been the quiet supporter, sending me coding books as a kid and listening to my rants about school. She had her own regrets, I think, marrying young and putting her dreams on hold, but she channeled it into encouraging me. Thanks, Grandma. It means everything. They are over here making a fuss, she added, her tone sharpening a bit, saying you must have tricked Amazon somehow. Of course they are, I said, a flash of frustration hitting me. Ellie chuckled. I set them straight. Told them I watched you build this from scratch, while they funneled money into Alyssa's projects. After hanging up, I finally checked my inbox. Congrats from classmates and professors mixed with an email from Dad's lawyer, requesting a family meeting to discuss asset distribution. Chloe read it over my shoulder and rolled her eyes. They really do not get it. A month later, the Seattle Times feature dropped. From UW to Amazon, the rise of a tech trailblazer. The interview had been at Ellie's house, her study lined with bookshelves full of engineering texts and family photos from hikes in the Cascades. The torn diploma taped back together and framed next to my Amazon contract was the key image. During the interview, my family showed up unannounced, bursting through the front door into the sunlit room. Dad led, face stern. This stops now, Hannah. You are embarrassing us all. I stayed seated, gesturing to the journalist, Dana, who had her notebook ready. "Please explain how my work embarrasses the family. I am sure readers would like to know." They froze, spotting the recorder and camera. Alyssa's cheeks flushed. She had always craved attention, but hated being caught off guard, probably stemming from her fear of looking weak after her app failed. "You set this up," Mom accused, her voice shaky, torn between loyalty to Dad and a flicker of pride in me that she rarely showed. "No, I just stopped hiding," I said. "You tried to force the patents on me. Let's talk about that, or why Dad tore my diploma." Ellie stepped in, her small frame firm. "Enough, Mark. I have seen you dismiss Hannah for years, funding Alyssa's ideas while she worked jobs to pay her way. Now you want a piece of her success? Not today." Alyssa snapped back, but I saw the panic in her eyes, jealousy mixed with regret for not taking her own work more seriously. Dana captured it all, and they left awkwardly, Dad muttering about privacy. After, Dana asked if I was okay. I nodded, feeling a rush of relief tinged with sadness. It was the final cut I needed. The article in the Seattle Times became one of their most shared pieces that month, with comments from readers pouring in, some sharing their own stories of family pressures, others praising the algorithm's potential for local businesses. I read through them at my kitchen table in the Capitol Hill apartment, the morning light highlighting the dust motes in the air and the stack of unpacked boxes from my recent move. It was strange seeing my face online, the photo of the framed torn diploma next to the Amazon contract hitting home for a lot of people. Emails came from young developers, especially women in tech, talking about feeling overlooked in their families or at school. One from a high school girl in Tacoma said it gave her hope to keep coding despite her parents pushing her towards something more traditional. Those messages made me feel connected, but also a bit exposed, like sharing too much too soon. Parents wrote in, too, some admitting they had favored one child without realizing the harm. It stirred mixed feelings in me, gratitude for the impact, but a lingering ache about my own family. Alyssa tried launching another venture, a sustainable clothing line this time, putting in about $50,000 of her own savings scraped from odd jobs and what was left of her credit. No more handouts from Mom and Dad. I think they had finally seen how enabling her had not helped anyone. She rented a small space in a shared warehouse in Sodo, south of downtown, spending on fabric samples and a basic website. But without the cushion, and maybe without the drive to pivot when things got tough, it folded after 2 months. I heard about it through Ellie, who mentioned Alyssa seemed deflated but was talking about getting a steady job, perhaps for the first time, facing her pattern of chasing quick wins to prove something to our parents. Mom and Dad made attempts at reaching out, sending texts about family dinners or holidays, always circling back to unity and how success should be shared. One from Mom read, "We miss you, Hannah. Let's put this behind us for everyone's sake." Dad's was blunter. "This has gone on long enough. We raised you better." I did not reply right away, feeling a tug of old habits, wanting to smooth things over like I used to, but knowing it would just pull me back into the same cycle. Dad's motivations were rooted in his own upbringing, strict and achievement-focused, pushing him to see Alyssa as the extension of his unfulfilled ambitions in business. Mom, I suspect, felt trapped in the middle, her love for us genuine but skewed by years of mediating Dad's expectations. Instead of engaging, I threw myself into work at Amazon. The office in South Lake Union was a far cry from my old setup, a modern space with ergonomic desks, free snacks in the break rooms, and views of the lake where colleagues sometimes took walking meetings. My team was small but sharp, focusing on integrating the algorithm into their cloud services. Within 6 months, it was rolled out to thousands of small businesses, from the coffee roasters in Georgetown to the artisan shops in Ballard, helping them fend off data breaches without huge costs. Seeing the user feedback, emails thanking us for making security accessible, reminded me why I started it all, even on days when imposter syndrome crept in. I used some of the money from the deal, about $100,000 after setting aside for taxes and savings, to start a scholarship fund at UW named after Ellie. It covered $20,000 a year for 5 students from underrepresented backgrounds in tech, helping with tuition and living expenses. Ellie cried when I told her, saying it was the best gift. The fund's launch event was at the Allen Center with its bright labs and student posters on the walls, a place that felt like a second home during college. As for my family, their messages tapered off, but the lawyer's email lingered in my mind, a hollow threat with no real basis, since the patents were mine alone, registered through the USPTO without any family involvement, under U.S. Law, intellectual property like that belongs to the inventor, and without a prior agreement, they had no claim. It was just Dad's way of trying to regain control, I suppose. 1 year after the acquisition, I sat in my office at Amazon's South Lake Union campus, a corner spot with a desk cluttered with monitors, sticky notes of code snippets, and a potted succulent Chloe had given me as a housewarming gift. The building was alive with the hum of keyboards and casual chats about weekend hikes in the Olympics or brewery visits in Fremont. Seattle's tech scene blended work with that Pacific Northwest love for the outdoors. Looking out the window at the Space Needle piercing the skyline, a symbol of innovation that always reminded me of the city's forward-thinking spirit, I felt a quiet contentment mixed with the occasional what-if about family ties. My phone buzzed with a text from Chloe. "Alyssa's giving interviews, saying she inspired your drive. Want me to send the link?" I laughed softly, typing back, "Let her talk. Success speaks for itself." Alyssa had landed a marketing job at a local startup. Something stable for once, but old habits died hard. She still spun stories to cast herself in a better light, perhaps to cope with the envy that had built up over years of comparisons. I did not hold it against her entirely. We were products of the same uneven parenting, after all. Ellie's words from the article had stuck with me like a mantra. Success is not about proving them wrong. It is about proving you are right. She had said it during the interview in her Bellevue home, surrounded by her garden tools and photo albums from family trips to Mount Rainier. Repeating it helped on days when doubt crept in, like when I second-guessed a team decision or felt isolated in the corporate world. The algorithm had become a standard feature in Amazon services, protecting countless small businesses from cyber risks. I had invested wisely, most of the $28 million post-tax and index funds, and a modest condo in Queen Anne, about $800,000 with views of the Sound, and a kitchen where I could finally cook without bumping elbows. My salary, $180,000 a year plus $50,000 in stock options, covered the rest comfortably. The scholarship fund was thriving, supporting students who reminded me of my younger self, juggling jobs and dreams. Every dismissive comment, every overlooked effort had shaped me. They were steps, not setbacks. My name carried weight in tech circles now, and my story encouraged others to stand firm. Sometimes the best path forward is not confrontation, but simply building a life on your own terms.